This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Farming Simulator 22 map first impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at Weyauwega, Wisconsin. But before that, this video is brought to you by Patrick Quinier and Schultz Modding. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Weyauwega, Wisconsin map can be found over at actually crookedcreekmoddings.itch.io page. And I did go ahead and bring that up. There is a link down in the description below. We're going to talk about this map and we're going to read the description. I'm going to bring the description up here while we read through it because there is a lot of very important information that you're going to want to know and understand before you dive into this map. I think it's just going to keep you from being a little bit frustrated. So let's read a little bit of the description. The Weyauwega, Wisconsin map has 4 farms to play on. We have the Quantum Dairy, we have 2 crop farms, and the Weyauwega Star Dairy. This is mainly a dairy map. Concrete pads are silage pads. New crops include dry ear corn, dry corn, cracked corn, soybean straw, corn stalks, alfalfa, clover, and silage corn. All properties must be bought to be playable. Cows will appear at milking times in the Rotary Milker at the Weyauwega Star Dairy. The GSI silo at the Cooperative is a sell point, whereas the AGI is a corn dryer that must be bought. Liquid manure will rise and fall in both pits. Liquid manure at the Small Freestalls you must turn on the pump before you can fill from those areas. There is a mechanic spot at Arnold's. Water fill in the pasture by the pond. Look for it. So this is going to be the water fill point. We'll show that off when we get to the tour. Milk sale at Weyauwega Dairy. Anhydrous is used for fertilizer. So this map does have anhydrous added to it. You will need to download your own anhydrous mods to support anhydrous. I'm pretty sure we don't have things like the sprayers set up to work as anhydrous, but we'll look at that also when we get into the map. Placeable corn cribs, propane, fuel, anhydrous are bought at the Cooperative. Bale sell point and other sell point in the pasture at the auction house. We'll talk about that. New animal feed mixtures like silage, grass, hay, corn, byproducts, forage, calves take milk. All other animals follows the same concept as cows. This map is making use of the Hofburgman animals. More animals has been added to the map, or buy more animals with a limit of 2,000. Bullet bills, oat, wheat, and barley foliage textures. Benji FS corn foliage. JMZ lime textures for manure. Antler 22's custom tillage plow textures and real alfalfa. Smooth roller texture by Perma's Modding. Silo complexes. Mix shed by River Bottom Customs. Shop by Trailer Park Farms. Silage pads by Lazy Modding. Corn ear and corn cribs by Bronkema. I'm sure I butchered that. Community sheds or commodity sheds by Legacy Ag. All custom cow barns, dealership calf barns are done by Crooked Creek Modding and Mapping. The LEM bale texture changer is a mod conflict, so be very, very cautious about that. Precision Farming, Maize Plus, Enhanced Animal System, and Hydrous Add-on Manure System. Use at your own risk. These have not been tested and could change your gameplay. I don't really see how Anhydrous Add-on is going to change your gameplay. We've got Anhydrous in the map. That actually has a script that is going to work with the Anhydrous add-on and Precision Farming to merge those together. Enhanced Animal System, I can understand because of the Hofburgman animals. They're going to maybe possibly conflict because Enhanced Animal System itself has the Hofburgman animals defined in those. Now, these are the important parts that I want to talk to you about. Depending on the crop and depending on how you harvest the crop, you're going to get different results. If you use a forage harvester on silage corn, you'll get chaff. If you use a forage harvester on corn, regular corn, you'll get ear corn. Maybe not the most realistic, but okay. Combine, we're going to get corn out of corn. And if you combine silage corn, you're going to get silage corn. If you take a mower to corn, well, you're going to get corn stalks. If you take a mower to soybeans, you're going to get soybean straw. If you take a mower to silage corn, you're going to get chaff. Cracked corn is going to be maize plus the mix-all is going to equal cracked corn, and there's a mod for that. So what we're going to do is, let's just show you, we're going to download these two files, the map itself and the mixer. Those are what you're going to need to add into your mod folder. And with that, I don't think it really needs to be said, but this map is obviously going to be PC only because of the fact that it is not available over at the Giants Mod Hub and the fact that it is making use of custom scripts. With that, let's go ahead and load into the map. So we do have our grind mixer pack, which is the second mod that is included with the downloads. And in addition to that, we are going to be using the mods we typically use on lookup maps, which is additional field info, additional game settings, animal food overview, field lease, field calculator, precision farming, and straw harvest. Now, I will tell you, as the map loads up, you are going to see some, well, we already saw a couple errors and warnings pop up in the log. I'm going to explain those here in a little bit. I will also tell you that if you load this map up in farm manager mode or start from scratch, you'll find all the farms are built out exactly how you see them here in new farm mode, with the exception you do not own any land. Also, if you happen to be using a low-end system, I was able to maintain fairly close to 60 frames per second on a low-end system with integrated graphics, as long as I wasn't looking at certain areas of the map. And I'll talk about a few of those when we get around to them. But there are definitely a few areas that are kind of frame killers on a lower end system. So you kind of want to be careful of what you're looking at and where you are on the map with respect to performance. Now let me get to a point where we can easily see this log. And I want to talk to you about the warnings and errors that are popping up. A few of these are going to be really, really fast and easy fixes that I hope the map author fixes. Or, quite frankly, if you feel that you're pretty inept, or not inept, pretty adept with using a text editor and working with zip files, you can probably fix these on your own. So we have two errors right here that relate to some tire defuse textures. The only problem with these is the case on the wording is wrong compared to how the case is in the zip file. And maps are very case sensitive, so if you don't match the case exactly, you will get errors like this. I'll point out where you have these or where these tires are at, and they're going to be completely ghost white. And that's why, because it can't locate the texture because the name is not quite exactly how it is in the map. Just going to scroll through those warnings related to texture, not texture, but size, shape, size, and it's not that big of a deal because this isn't going to be available for console anyway. So here we have a couple warnings related to spray manure diffuse PNG. There isn't a spray manure diffuse PNG file in the map. There's a spray manure diffuse DDS file. So just quickly changing .png to .dds will fix those two warnings as well. Then the other one that I wanted to point out pops right away when you load the map, and that is that the automatic car wash.lua. I don't think there's a car wash on this map. I don't know where it is. I haven't found it, but there is a script in the map that has automatic car wash.lua in it, but it is not in a scripts folder. It is in the XML folder. So just quickly changing the path from /scripts to /XML will get rid of that error. And I really don't know what the file name mismatch means. That one I am a little bit confused on. But like I said, I feel all of these errors are probably a super fast, quick fix by the map author. I hope he gets those updated, and that way you can have a log that is fairly clean and you won't have any issues with those tire textures, which I will be pointing out here in a moment. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA. We start out down here kind of to the southeast corner. Let's go ahead and take a look at our farmland overview. We start out by owning what I would call the unbuyable land. So it's the areas around the map that is associated with buy points, sell points, the shop, and other kind of non-player areas. We do not own any farms at the start. We also do not have any starting machinery at the start. So there are 4 farms, as the description said. First farm is going to be here at Farmland ID 24. That can be bought for $231,000. There is a farm located right across the street from where we spawn in at. That can be bought for $19,000 at Farmland ID 25. Farmland ID 23 has a farm for $28,000. And then Farmland ID 22 has the 4th farm on the map that is going to be $91,832. In addition, this map does not have all the standard crops that are available to us in Farm Sim 22. In fact, this map excludes sorghum, cotton, sugarcane, grapes, olives, grass, which is an interesting one, and oilseed radish. In its place, we have silage corn, alfalfa, clover added to the map. So it's really interesting that grass has been excluded, but we do have alfalfa and clover added in. Let's go ahead and take a look at our farmland lease screen. This is going to show us all of the viable farmlands, how large they are, if they include any field, what fields they include, then lastly, how much is that farmland going to cost us. We see farmland ID 1 through 20 are going to be lining up with field numbers. Always like to see that. It's going to make it easier when we compare the field calculator screen to see how large each particular field actually is. Now, while the description kind of cautioned us with respect to precision farming, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the precision farming soil map as it is applied to these fields. This map is using the generic soil map. So you can see to the northwest and southeast, we've got a fair mix of loamy sand, sandy loam, and then right kind of swathing through diagonally the middle of the map, we've got a big old segment of silty clay and sandy loam. We do have a custom crop counter here on this map for the crops that are included. Let's go ahead and take a look at our prices screen. Now, I'll say that we do indeed have the ability to sell all the crops that are listed here in this particular map. But one thing we do not have the ability to do is we do not have the ability to sell eggs or wool. Now, chickens and sheep are not included with this map, but it would be nice to see the ability of being able to sell eggs and wool automatically. We do have the ability to sell milk, and we also have the ability to sell our silage, hay, straw, and grass. We do have the ability of buying bulk lime. And one other thing that's important to note is stones has been completely removed also from this prices screen. So I don't know what's going to happen if you play with stones enabled, because there's definitely no place to sell stones. I don't know if a script has been used to completely strip stone functionality out of the map or not. Not really sure. But here we have our dry corn, corn stalks, dry alfalfa, propane, anhydrous, cracked corn, clover, clover windrow, dry clover windrow, soybean straw, ear corn, dried ear corn, and silage corn. Those are all new fill types that are available here on this map. If you happen to have the farm production pack, you will not be able to sell any of your washed vegetables, nor will you be able to sell any of the platinum expansion production items because, well, there is no sell point put down on the map for those. In addition, you will be able to sell your premium expansion crops and productions, which is always good to see. If you are playing with pumps and hoses, we do have the ability of getting rid of our separated manure. And if you have straw harvest enabled, well, we do have the ability of getting rid of our hay and straw pellets. As I said earlier, we do not start with any machinery in any play mode. So with that, I would say maybe go ahead and start this map in farm manager mode. That way you have the most money to buy not only the farmlands you want to buy, but also get started with your machinery. Now I went ahead and bought all of the farms, and we can see here all of the animal areas that are available. you do notice that there are definitely far more than 10 animal areas here. This map does have the mod included that will allow you to place more animal pens down, even though we are far, far over the current limit with the base game. We do not have any contracts, but that is because I've went ahead and had to buy all the fields in order to get the soil map. If you don't buy the fields, there are contracts available. So we don't see any contracts here because when I did pull up the soil map, my normal script that I run in order to get this to show without having to buy the land did not work. I let it sit for a very, very long time and nothing popped. So I had to go and buy all the fields and buy all of these individually. So that is why we do not see any contracts available. As far as production chains, we have the corn cribs, or 2 corn cribs at the Star Dairy, and we have a stave silo also at that dairy. And the reason we have these popping up is, again, because I went ahead and bought all the farms. So we'll have those icons popping when we get to the farm tour. Then lastly, this map does not have any collectibles. Now, while we definitely don't have any starting machinery, I do want to take a look at mods and DLCs, because we do have the grind mixer. That is one of the required mods or suggested mods with this map pack. And this is the Geel 125 Mix All Grinder. And we're going to use this in order to grind up some custom cow food. And then we also, for the map itself, we have a couple of different pallets of seed. And we do have a couple of different buckets that are going to be used for, well, to be honest, I don't know. But I'm sure somebody will figure it out. All right, with that, let's take a look at the build mode, because there's a few things important to talk about here in the build mode as well. So under silos, we do have a placeable corn crib that we can put down. $5,000. It's going to accept cob corn, and it's going to output dried cob corn. Under productions, we don't have anything custom there. Under animals, we do have under calf or cow the ability to put down a calf igloo. We do not have the ability to putting down any other custom animals, just the calf igloo. And then as far as our textures go, fairly standard ground textures. We got a few extra kind of gravel with moss in them and such. And then we have fairly standard plants and standard trees. With that, let's move over to our farm tours. As we're going to do, we're going to try to lump all of these farm tours together in one segment. Let's go across the street here and look at the 2, what I'll kind of call arable farms or crop farms first. And then we'll check out the 2 dairy farms, because they are much, much more involved. Each farm does have a farmhouse with a custom sleep trigger here at the farm door. Again, you will need to buy all these farms in order to make use of the buildings on all these farms. And as we are going around these various farms, I will tell you that it is a mix and match as far as if the buildings are sellable or not. We're giving the map ultimately a half a point with respect to the farms being customizable, because there's a fairly good chunk of these buildings that are permanently embedded in the map. There are some things that we can sell, and there are some things that will sell, but visually the building that they are contained within does not go away. So it's kind of a moot point in order to try to sell some things, because, well, the building stays, and if you're trying to really get rid of the building to begin with, well, that's really not going to work. So now we're over here at our second arable farm, just down the street. Now, do note, sometimes you will need to be inside in order to open these gates. That's why I've been going inside on lots of these buildings before I try to open the bigger doors. For example, this building is one of those, where those two doors just will not open. So we'll have to come in here, where we do have a workshop trigger. This one is flagged as a dealer trigger, as opposed to being a workshop trigger. And then from here, we can actually operate the door. Now, there are a whole lot of triggers going on in this shed, and as we see, there really isn't a marker here showing us where this maintenance and dealer trigger is located. I believe that it's the entirety of this shop floor, but again, it is not marked. We got boy and girl cowboy facilities here. Good to see. Just confirming, yes, I am still a vampire in the world of Farm Sim. So those are the two arable farms. Let's make our way over to one of the dairy farms. Well, while we're over here, there's this giant pile of debris. This thing in my testing has been a massive frame killer. I wish you could delete this. I wish you could sell this. That would be really awesome for those people on lower end systems, because I found that if I was looking at this with my other system that has integrated graphics, I would have 45 frames or less. If I looked away, it would go to 60 immediately. If I turned back, I would easily lose 15 frames right off the gate just looking at this. So if this is anywhere remotely going to be in your frame of vision, it could potentially impact your frame rates. So I do wish we did at least have the ability of deleting that, but we do not, sadly. Back here at our farmhouse, we have our sleep trigger. And over here at the front, the entryway, there's this pad, and it really has me wondering if maybe there's something that's supposed to be here. And we've got some kind of in-ground vaults going on there. That's something else I found really interesting on this particular farm is we have areas that, well, one would think would be a silage bunker, but they're just filled full of tires. Well, that's because the silage bunkers are just large, flat areas that are either concrete or kind of an asphalt, a darker concrete. And we'll show those off here in a little bit. Now, if you're looking for a map that has a ton of cows, this map is going to satisfy you greatly because, well, this building only holds 50. That is pretty much the smallest amount that you're going to see other than being in the calf igloos. So we have our food trough in here. And I believe our straw trigger is going to be located over there somewhere. If I pull up the triggers, you're going to find that square. And I believe that is technically where the straw trigger is located. So if you do come in here and you find yourself having difficulty getting the straw to pop, kind of just position your blower over there and run up and down and see if maybe you can get it to pop that way. Because it doesn't look like it's a very large straw trigger. This is one of the areas where you're going to have to turn the slurry pump on. And once you turn the slurry pump on, then you're going to be able to get your slurry out. Notice how bleach white these tires are. Remember in the log, I pointed out those entries where we had a warning we couldn't locate the right tire diffuse texture? It's these tires. So if you change that case spelling in the XML to match the file name, or you change the file name to match the case spelling in the XML, then these tires will stop being bleach white. Over here we have another small barn. It's going to hold 50 calf or 50 cows. And again, we're going to have the same food here, and I believe the straw is going to be in here with a smaller trigger. We got some storage on this side of the shed. And really, really interesting. Like, they just tacked this building on the end of it. Really interesting concept. So here we have a silo. So we have a dump point and a fill point for a small silo. And then a slurry pump. Again, we're going to have to come here and turn on the pump in order to fill. Across the way, we have 3 silos here. We can activate a trigger on the front to open and close the lid. And then on the back, we have the ability to turn the fan on. There's quite a delay for when I turn the fan on to when it actually pops. I don't know if it's supposed to kind of ramp up or what, but here we go. Turn the fan on now. And there it is. Some more just general machinery storage down here. And then we have, this is one of our silage silo compacting areas. All right, so this pad is going to be where we're going to bring chaff and make silage. We have a scale house over there. And then we have another larger silage pad located up here. A large slurry pond. Just some more general machinery. Again, here we have another one of those. You'd think would be for silage, but no, it's just to store tires. And then we have our massive cow buildings. Food and straw inside of here. Again, food and straw inside of here. We got a milking parlor area. We do have static cows. That's kind of the biggest downfall to that one. Around the side over here, we have 3 outputs for milk. 1, 2, and 3. Those are going to be for the 3 different buildings. And we have 1,500 cows. Available there. Available here. And available over here. Although we're not seeing the icon for this one. Because it's on this side. So right there, that's 4,500 cows in that structure right there. while we're looking at cows, let's just go ahead and talk about our animal food requirements. So, for silage, what is the equivalent of silage? Silage, alfalfa fermented, and total mixed rations. Grass and hay. Well, alfalfa, chaff, grass, alfalfa windrow, clover, clover windrow, dry alfalfa, hay, dry alfalfa windrow, dry clover windrow, hay pellets, and TMR are going to satisfy that. Corn byproducts is new, and that's going to be 40% of the health of the animal. Silage corn, dry ear corn, cracked corn, ear corn, and TMR. For calves, we have milk. And as far as our forage goes, we have TMR or forage. Sheep are going to take, as far as our grass and hay. If we had sheep, again, we're going to need to have some place to getting rid of our wool. If we do have sheep, but we have alfalfa, chaff, grass, alfalfa windrow, clover, clover windrow, dry alfalfa, hay, dry alfalfa windrow, dry clover windrow, and hay pellets. Grains and silage have been added for sheep. So we have oat, silage, and alfalfa fermented. Pigs, we have our normal pig food across the list here. And then we get corn byproducts. We have the same corn byproducts as we had with our cows. Horses, we have our grain. Grasses, we get alfalfa windrow, clover, and chaff added. Hay is going to include dry clover, dry alfalfa windrow, clover windrow, and hay pellets. And then for our chickens, we have corn byproducts also that have been added as far as animal feed requirements. So that is pretty much this farm, which again is here in the southeast corner. Let's jump up here to the fourth farm, which is the Weyauwega Star Dairy. And this one has a ton of calf igloos. So we have our farmhouse sleep trigger once again. Big machine shed. We have our scale house over there. And we have two animal areas here, 1,000 cows apiece. Then we have our stave silo. So that is going to take grass, clover windrow, clover, alfalfa, and alfalfa windrow. And it's going to make hay, dry clover, or dry alfalfa. We have our dump point, and then we have our fill point around the side. Some more machine storage. We have 3 outputs for milk, just like the other dairy farm. So depending on which building you are in is going to depend on which trigger you're going to need to go to. It would be nice if they were somehow numbered in a little bit easier way, so you could easily identify which building you kind of needed to go to. So here we have the milking carousel, and then at the appropriate times, this is going to populate up with cows for the milking animation. Around the back, we've got a nice large slurry pit. And just like the milk, we have 3 slurry triggers. Again, for the 3 big cow barns here on this farm. But it would be nice to know, like, 1, 2, and 3. And then basically which barn is 1, 2, and 3. We have 3 silage pads. 2 here in the back. Then 1 around the side of this cow barn. We've got our food trough here. Straw is going to be in there. So there's one of our cows. Same goes here. We have our food trough. And then we have our third barn here. So we have our food trough. Then we have the cow drop off for that one here. That is another 1,000. So 3,000 cows here. 4,600 over at the other farm because we had those 3 buildings that did 1,500 each. Then we had 2 buildings that did 50. Then we have our 2 corn cribs. So these are going to take corn cob, and they are going to basically make then dried corn. So we just set that up. So we have our dump point, we have our fill trigger, and this is going to be our interactive trigger. Ear corn in, dry ear corn out. Another area that was kind of a frame killer for me on a low-end system was looking at all of these igloos. I don't know if it was the igloos or if it was the glowing icons associated with these igloos, but at any rate, this was also an area of frame contention. Now, the way these igloos are going to work, we're going to come up here to our CCM, and we're going to hit left click to pull the fence out. And when we pull the fence out to now clean, we're going to have a milk trigger, and we're going to be able to basically buy our calf. We can't get our calf until we move the fence. Oh, dude, move over a little bit. And now we have our manure pop there. So again, we're going to left click, and then we're going to be able to get our calf. And left click again. Basically put it back. Whoa, dude. Oh my gosh. We're being cut in half. Another cow barn up here. This time for just 15. With our food actually outside here. More calf igloos. And another small building here for another 15. Again, with the dump point right there. And that is basically what we have going on here with respect to the 4 different farms. So we've got this farm, which we just talked about. This farm, which we just left. And then these 2 arable farms as well. I'm going to jump over here to Arnold's Instruments. That is going to be the dealer. And we're going to do the rest of our fly around map tour basically starting here. So within Arnold's, we have our dealer trigger. And let's go ahead and just pick up our Mahindra. We'll see where that spawns. I liked having details like the dealer here. We got our toys all lined up. We got some marketing materials. We go outside. We're going to find, some machinery lined up. The side here is where our dealer trigger is, although this one pops as a workshop. So typically the difference between a workshop trigger and a dealer trigger is you can't repaint at a workshop trigger, but you can repaint and sell at dealer triggers. So I don't know if that's just been flipped in the code or if it's intended to be that way. Then around back, we have our spawn point for our vehicles. I think I mentioned that we were going to fly around, but I think we'll just drive. And while we're driving, we'll talk a little bit about our scoring metrics and how we're going to score this map. With respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such, we are going to be giving the map a full point because we do indeed have production built in. This is our dairy, and this is going to be our milk sell point. But I got quite a chuckle out of the calf pattern or the cow pattern doors. At first I thought, whoa, is that a wrong texture? But now I think, no, I think that's on purpose. So we're selling our milk there. With respect to the ability to sell all the base game crops that are included with the map, production points and animal outputs, we are taking a 1/4 point off because we do not have the ability to sell our eggs and wool. I don't really care about the fact that sorghum, cotton, sugarcane, grapes, olives, grass, and oilseed radish have been removed. Could care less. Map author is free to remove crops all they want. You can't plant it, you can't sell it. That's pretty obvious. But we could put down sheep, we could put chickens down, and we can't get rid of them, or we can't get rid of the animal outputs that are associated with those animals. Here we have our anhydrous fill point. Again, you will need to have anhydrous mods. I'll put a link to a video I did about several anhydrous mods down in the description below. And if I think about it, I'll put a little tick up here in the upper right corner. Here we have a fuel fill point. And then that should also be our propane fill point back there, I believe. That is just a deco building. This land, the dealership, the dairy sell point, it is all on owned land that we already own at the very start. Now, kind of across the street from the Star Dairy farm is this farmhouse. And I kind of think about this as being, well, it says for sale. But the way I looked at it is like, this is maybe the old farm. The old farmhouse before it got big, modern, and expanded across the street. We're going to turn here and make our way to the co-op. Now, this scenery does not look bad here, but when you do get to the edge, I feel that it really, really suffers when you get to the edge. Would like to have seen something else maybe done at the edges, simply because we do have so much interactivity things kind of right at the edge of the map. So here we have a seed, fertilizer, and sell points. You're going to be able to fill, buy liquid fertilizer, buy herbicide. You're going to be able to buy seed and probably solid fertilizer and lime, mineral feed, pig food, all from there. Okay, to the right, we have grain selling. To the left, we have grain drying. Remember the description? GSI is grain selling. AGI is grain drying. So we have a manure buy point. In order to dry our grain, we will need to provide propane. So that needs a trigger for that. We have our dump and fill points for the dryer. This CCM is going to be our icon to buy the dryer for $300,000 and then to interact with it. Corn and propane in, dry corn out. Then over here we have a trigger to activate the fans. So let's just hit R to activate the fans. So left click. You can see now we have spinning fans. Some fan noises. You We can come over here now. We've stopped their fans. It's a nice little animation. Nice little interactivity. With respect to the farms being customizable, we've already kind of talked about this point. We're going to give the map a half a point. There's just so much stuff at all the farms that are permanently a part of the map. Is that a bad thing? That's for you to decide. The farms aren't super tight, so there is areas where you can expand and add other buildings if you want. I did find that there were areas that had triggers I could sell, but I couldn't get rid of the actual buildings. So I'm just going to point it out. I know some people like to be able to change things around when they want to, and other people are like, nope, I'm going to play exactly how it is built. I have no intentions of changing anything. So that is completely up to you. Use your own discretion if that is something that's going to bother you or not. With respect to buildings using the new texturing technique as well as ground textures, I'm taking a 1/4 point off. A lot of these American sided buildings here, these white buildings or red buildings, I'm not sure if they're using the new texturing to give that 3D texture look. I don't think they are, but I don't know for sure enough to, like, you know, go hard on it. So we're just going to take a 1/4 point off because, to be completely honest, it really doesn't impact one's overall enjoyment of this map. And then lastly, player and interactive areas being clearly marked. We're going to have to take a little bit off because I would like to have seen markers on that big workshop in the arable farm building. And I'd like to see a couple of these other areas a little bit more clearly marked when you have multiple milk points, multiple slurry pickup points, and multiple cow points. Not like this, but over at the other farms. Like, you know, when I go and put a cow in, is this building 1, 2, or 3? And then do I go to milk 1, 2, or 3? Right? It'd just be nice to have those numbered. So we have our animal dealer here. We have 2. We have pigs and cows. I'm assuming it's possible, even though it doesn't pop when I come up here to do this, it's possible that if you bring a trailer in here, you're only going to get cows when you go to one of those, and you're going to get pigs when you go to the other. Over here in the pasture, we have some nice animated cows. This is a sell point. So this is going to be like a forage sell point. It is marked in the map. As the auction house feeder. And then we have our bale sell point. And then we have our water fill point here at the pond. And that, folks, that is the map. So ultimately, we're going to give this map a score of 3.75 out of 5. Where we took points off, a 1/4 point if we can only just sell eggs and wool. We have custom food for all the animals. I can only just guess that it's an oversight that we don't have the ability of just selling our eggs and wool at some place. But it would nice to be able to have eggs and wool as a sell point somewhere. That's the 1/4 point there. I took a 1/2 point off because of the fact that you can't truly customize a lot of the farms. But again, that might not really impact you. One thing you definitely can sell are these silage pads. And a couple of the buildings on this farm, a couple of the buildings over on the other large dairy farm can be sold. And then we took a 1/4 point off each with respect to the building textures and the triggering and interactive areas. I'd love to know what you all think down in the comments below with respect to this particular map. Is this a map that you're going to start getting on and playing or not. And until next time, happy farming.